And welcome back to the Stu Peters Show. My name is Paul Harrell, filling in for Stu. So there are a lot of people in the so-called conservative media or independent media landscape who say that they're a dissident, who say that they're free and independent and a trailblazing voice. But in reality, they're not. They're controlled. They're being told what to say. They're running every single one of their articles, every single one of their social media posts, every single one of their talk show appearances through their publisher or through their editor or through their ideological guru, whatever you want to call it, whoever is pulling the strings and telling them what they are and aren't allowed to say. That's who's making the final call. So it's really been amazing over the past few weeks and months to see Candace Owens, who's employed by Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire, breaking with Shapiro, and let's face it, just about everyone else at the Daily Wire, on the issue of Israel, and specifically Israel's genocide of the Palestinians and colonial conquest of Gaza. And more recently, she's broken with them on the issue of the left-wing globalist subversion of the United States and who's responsible for it, for who's behind this uprooting and perversion of our culture and our government and everything that we've ever known as an integral part of American society, including our national sovereignty, which now ceases to exist, all thanks to the Israel First lobby of geopolitical power brokers who are undeniably, or claim that they are of Jewish ancestry. And so, despite working at a place run by a guy who's a professional mouthpiece for Israel, Ben Shapiro, a guy who's really turned himself into a professional victim of imaginary anti-Semitism, Candace Owens has been able to carve out a lane as a free thinker and as a truth seeker, as someone who will continue telling the truth and digging for the truth, no matter how unpleasant or unpopular it may be. As a matter of fact, last week she staked her entire journalistic career on the fact that Emmanuel Macron, French's president, that his wife was born a man. Maybe more on that in a minute. Now, so I don't think that anyone expects that Candace Owens is going to get her contract renewed at the Daily Wire anytime soon, but she's using her platform to ask questions that need to be asked and to share information that needs to be shared. And in doing so, and doing all of this, she's come across many people who've tried to shut her down, especially this so-called Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, who's pretty quickly been identified as, well, one of the most disgusting people on the face of the earth. When you think about going into business with your daughter who's in the sex shop business, it's very strange. I mean, would you do that as a father? Shmuley is basically a Zionist enforcer, kind of like Luca Brasi from The Godfather. This is the guy they send after you when they want to accuse you of anti-Semitism, or they want to say that you're not supporting the Israeli war effort, which, of course, they say is, again, a form of anti-Semitism. He is their enforcer, and he's a total pervert. Matter of fact, take a look at this video. Watch.
Hi, everyone. Arch anti-Semite Candace Owens, who's having a complete mental and psychological breakdown, a nervous breakdown in public, which is being manifest with some of the worst anti-Semitism we've seen in years here in the United States, saw this box and she called it filth. One word, filth. Now, it's made in Israel. It's called My Shemen, which means my oil. Out of her ignorance, she had no clue. And it's made by the Kosher Sex Company, based on the book that I wrote. What's inside? What is this filth? Is it the Magen David that Candace Owens hates? Is it the Made in Israel that she hates? What is it? Let's see. Is it a monster inside? Is it some? Oh my God! It's 2 oils for married couples. Oh my gosh! This is the filth that arch anti-Semite, Jew hater, Israel hater, Candace Owens said was filth. So, since it's only oils, and since I am so dedicated passionately to the project of keeping marriages holy and passionate and lowering the divorce rate, because I'm a child of divorce, and getting husbands off pornography and trying to curb the crazy adulterous levels in America by making marriage holy, what could have led Candace Owens to call this box filth without ever opening it? I suggest, my friends, the answer lies very simply right here. Israel and the Magen David. Candace Owens cannot even control her anti-Semitism anymore. From saying that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, of course, if you're a pedophile, you work for Israel. From saying that rabbis killed Michael Jackson, that's going to get her a lawsuit, God willing, that will be very serious. from saying that Jews run a secret pedophile ring in Hollywood to entrap black artists and blackmail them. Her anti-Semitism has crossed such lines, but the best is how much she loves Kanye West, who loves Hitler. She saw this, and she therefore called it trash. There is a day of reckoning, because never again means we will never be maligned again. But my friends, in the meantime, you can buy these incredible products made in Israel to make your marriage more passionate, more holy, more intimate by going to kosher.sex. My daughter Chana's company, I'm so proud of Chana for doing this. She's an IDF veteran. And putting in the 10% discount code, Candace O. Like Candace O. So this is the trash you were talking about because it's made in Israel. Support intimacy, make love and war.
Make love and war. I don't think that's how that phrase is supposed to go. So, again, this Rabbi Shmuley character is beyond disgusting. And Candace Owens summed his entire shtick up the best when she posted screenshots of that very video you just saw, along with pictures of his daughter in her Israeli sex toy shop with the caption that reads, and I'm quoting, quote, "You're anti-Semitic if you don't like my daughter's butt plugs is potentially the weirdest flex ever, filth," end quote. I would tend to agree. Rabbi Shmuley clearly has a warped and twisted mind. Shmuley has been exploiting America for decades, and no surprise, it's always been about turning a profit while yelling anti-Semitism at anyone who objects or notices. And like many a con man before him, he's pretty good at it. He's cozied up with celebrities. He's painted himself as some kind of spiritual advisor and even profited off the death of Michael Jackson by writing a book about it. Sam Parker, former U.S. Senate candidate in Utah, is back with us to talk more about this. Sam, what do you make of all this?
Well, where do you start, Paul? It's a total clown show on the one hand, and sort of sinister on the other hand. Look, this feud goes all the way back to when Kanye West was having his whatever he was having on Twitter, the whole DEF CON tweets, that episode where he was getting manipulated in the background and taken advantage of by various people of Jewish descent. And of course, Candace knew what was going on in the background. She knew some of these things, and she stood up for him. They were friends. And at this point in time, apparently, Rabbi Shmuley and his daughter started attacking Candace for her position in supporting Ye. And that's where this feud started. And so it's been going on, apparently. It's reignited here over the last couple of weeks, especially on Twitter. But apparently it's been going on ever since that time with Ye a couple of years ago. And it's kind of hard to tease apart, but apparently Rabbi Shmuley, way back in the day, was on a list that Michael Jackson kept of Jews that were dangerous or taking advantage of him. And Shmuley was on this list, and so Candace brought that up. And so that's part of this saga. And so they've been attacking her consistently. And you saw that they're trying to even use Candace now to monetize themselves, to gain profit off of this feud, which is, typical for these people. They will create any sort of controversy, take both sides of any position, monetize, profitize, everything. He's using his feud with Candace Owens to make money now, to sell butt plugs and other sex toys and lubes and just filth, as Candace said. So there's interesting things afoot here. And we see now that Rabbi Shmuley, he's got a very close relationship with RFK Jr., who's running for president, who's got a questionable sexual past himself, and also, of course, he comes from, this Kennedy lineage that's had questionable ends, of course, these assassinations that seem to possibly be related, wrapped up in some way with Israel. There are a lot of allegations swirling around that. There's a lot of great evidence for that. And Rabbi Shmuley is involved with this guy. People are asking, is he a handler to RFK Jr.? Why is there a close relationship between this clown show rabbi who sells sex toys and RFK Jr.? What's the relationship here? Why was Rabbi Shmuley associated with Michael Jackson? Why was he on Michael Jackson's hey, this is a bad guy list? So, there's a lot of things going on here. And part of me wonders if this whole sex toy persona that he's adopted, this buffoonish persona that he's taken on, isn't some sort of cover. if Michael Jackson had him on this dangerous list, maybe this guy isn't a clownish buffoon. Maybe that's a cover. Maybe we should take him more seriously than we do, or maybe we shouldn't. Maybe he really is just an idiot, jerk who's wrapped up with other bad people, and he's just using that to gain notoriety and make money. It could be that too.
Yeah, it's really fascinating when you look at all this. The fact that Candace Owens is in the spheres that she has traveled in, the spheres where she has built her career up to be such an influencer among conservative Inc. A lot of normie cons and that sort of thing, and so she's on the Daily Wire, which I don't think you can call. If you had to say that, what is Con Inc. Daily Wire would be
the Daily Wire.
Yeah, the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
That's it. They're the top of the heap. And yet here she is on this platform, and she is really just going where the facts. She's not afraid of the facts. She's not afraid of the data. I'm just putting it out there, and you make up your own mind. I mean, we could talk, and I know here in a minute we're going to talk about the demographics and who's controlling what here in a minute here on the program. But I mean, if you just look at the numbers, with what's going on in Gaza, what has been going on in Gaza, the number of deaths and things like that, just accurately reporting the response of the nation state of Israel after October 7th is triggering to a lot of people, especially Ben Shapiro. Obviously, they have this open feud on Twitter, and then it kind of dies down, and so then they have their little Daily Wire round table where they actually bring Candace and Ben, and they put them in the same room with the rest of the guys who, I guess it was just a way to show unity. And I think they've done that because every time Ben Shapiro tweets something, he's getting ratioed really bad. I mean, unless I'm looking at some algorithm that is just trying to be curated to my interests, it looks like Ben Shapiro gets ratioed every time he tweets.
Ben Shapiro got absolutely bodied by Jake Shields a few days ago on Twitter, twice in a row. In fact, one of them, there was a dust up over this TikTok issue of like, who's behind the TikTok ban? And Jake Shields, and Ben Shapiro was, putting forth the total fabricated myth that it's all about, the CCP trying to take over American politics and mold the minds of the youth, and we have to end the communist influence, when it's really all about protecting Israel. Right? The Jewish Federation of America really pushed hard for this TikTok ban, and it's quite well known that pro-Palestinian on content is massively overwhelming any pro-Israel content on TikTok. So Israelis, Jews, Zionists, they're all, they all want to shut this speech down on TikTok. And so when Ben Shapiro tried to frame it as a communist China issue, Jake Shields, said, listen, Ben Shapiro claims to be for free speech, except when it's critical of Israel, basically. And so then Ben Shapiro accused him of basically using an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. And Jake fired back with, you can't shut us down with this quote unquote anti-Semitism anymore. It doesn't work. We see through your lies. And he absolutely nuclear ratioed Ben Shapiro. At last look, Jake had 46,000 likes to Ben Shapiro's 5,000 likes. Mm-hmm. And Ben Shapiro's got 10 times more followers than Jake Shields. So you're looking at a 100x ratio or more that Jake Shields delivered on Ben Shapiro. Just absolutely nuclear ratio. People are not putting up with these stupid anti-Semitic smears anymore when we're talking about facts or just, fair criticisms of the state of Israel. So that's number one. And number two, I find it interesting that throughout this feud, especially as it's escalated here over the last few weeks, that Ben Shapiro hasn't had anything to say whatsoever to his rabbi, to his co-ethnic rabbi, over how he's consistently attacking Candace Owens. And by the way, it involves Ben Shapiro now because Rabbi Shmuley has now invoked a lawsuit against the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro on multiple occasions